Hello beautiful people, it's Derryn here from Art by Derryn with another ArtStart DIY Christmas. Today it's Christmas cushions. I'm going to make some farmhouse style cushions. So what I'm starting off with is just measuring my cushions straight across. I take this measurement rather than the expanded measurement because I want the cushions to be full. So normally you'd add a centimetre per seam, so two sides you'd add 2 centimetres to the measurement, but this one I'm just keeping it nice and tight so that the pillow will be nice and full. Just getting myself organised here. These are the fabrics I've chosen that I might like to do my trees out of that are going on this first one. So it's going to say Merry Christmas and have 3 Christmas trees on it. I'm using calico. The thing I'm doing here with, you'll see me how I rip the calico. Any sort of 100% cotton fabrics you can use this technique on, so you can get really straight lines just from ripping the fabric, but always do a test first. I know it works with calico, I'm not quite sure what fabric you'll be using. This gives us that sort of farmhouse look, it looks rustic. So I'm just using some scissors, the wrong ones. These are my paper scissors. We talked about dressmaking scissors and paper scissors before, so I find my fabric scissors and give this a little cut, and then you'll see I'm ripping across the fabric, so from selvage to selvage. The selvage is the sort of woven part right on the edge of the fabric, and I've cut it, this time it's like 42 centimetres I'm using as my square. And here I'm going to measure 42 centimetres across here as well to make my square, and rip that the same way. So my front square, which will have a pattern on it, is 42 centimetres square. For this cushion, you measure your cushion and work it out. I don't know what size cushion you've got. I'm just squaring off this end of the fabric. This was the cut end from the fabric shop, so it wasn't particularly straight. So I've just ripped that and made that nice and straight. So here's my front square for our cushion. And by using it widthwise on my calico, it was 115 centimetres wide. So I had this, God, almost maths now, hang on a second. 115 minus 42 is 73 centimetres. So I do have enough with this piece to make an overlap in my back pieces. So I'm just going to cut it in half by ripping it again. The thing you find when you do this ripping technique is you get these loose threads that get everywhere, so you need to pull those off as well. So you can see when I lay it out on top of each other, I've got enough to make an envelope. That's what this pillow is called, it's an envelope pillow. You can see they lay out on top of each other. Now on each of these I'm just going to put a very little hem because the overlap isn't great. If I had a bigger overlap I would have made a double seam, which I would normally do, but because it's this, I'm just going to do a simple 1 centimetre seam. And you can see there I can finger press with 100% cotton fabrics. You can do this technique where you finger press to get this little seam that you want. So ironing everything and ironing that little 1 centimetre seam at the top there. There is a centimetre seam on each of those 2 back pieces. Now I'm using this Sizall iron-on, it's double stick product, and it's the first time I've used it, and I've got to say I really don't like it. I used to get something from Spotlight, I think it was just off the roll, and you could tell like which was the front and which was the back. This product, you couldn't really tell which was the front or the back. There was no writing on it or anything like that, and you'll see in a minute where I make a big blunder with it, thinking I think this was it, was it? No, not this one. I'll do it in a minute. So I've just ironed that onto my fabrics and cut out my pattern. There will be a downloadable pattern of this tree that you can download from my website. Now here I'm using, this is Dressmaker's copy paper, and it just wasn't working for some reason. I have no idea. It's always worked in the past. So I got out my graphite paper. What I should have done with this was just cut a little piece as big as the title there. Instead I put this big piece down, and of course my hands, you'll see, have rubbed graphite onto the fabric. And I'm just using a fine liner and then a thicker permanent marker just to fill in our thing. It's very simple. Once you've heat set this, it's good, it won't come out and it'll be permanent. Just put a little bit of paper there under my hands so I'm not smudging it anymore. And then we'll iron on our Christmas trees, pull the backing off, just set them out in the pattern that you like. I've put the darker tree at the front and the lighter trees towards the back. And this product, again, you have to hold it for a long time to get it to stick as well. So taking everything to the sewing machine, what I'm going to do is pin, first of all I'll sew these two little seams for the back envelope. Straight along there. Of course, when you start sewing, you always want to do reverse and back again, so that locks the stitch in. You want to do that at the beginning of your seam and at the end of your seam as well. So I'm putting the top part of the envelope on the inside there, so that when it turns out the right way, it will come down and cover. And pinning it at that crossover there, just so it's nice and flat, so it doesn't get caught up when I'm sewing it. Now I'll just do one seam all the way around the edge. I'm just going to put a 1 centimeter seam on, forward and backwards at the beginning, locking that stitch in. When we get to the corners, I'm going to put needle down and spin my fabric around. It takes a couple of times to get it on this corner. So needle down and spin around. I do double stitch over the openings there, just so that, because that's where this stress is going to be, like when you're pulling apart your cushion, it'll have stress on that point right there, so I double stitch it. And I'm just going to grab my pinking shears, trimming off the fabric all the way around and cutting a diagonal on the corners, and that means where we get a nice pointy corner where it points out. And that's basically it for these cushions. Turn them the right way around and pop the cushion insert into them. Give it a press too. It's always good to press things for the final time and pop the cushion in. Put the top in first, squish it all down and pop the bottom in. You can see by sewing it and making the measurements that we do, we get a really nice full cushion. So there's our first cushion, our Merry Christmas tree cushion. Now this one, I've got this plaid fabric, and I've got these wooden cutout letters that I have for another project, so I'm just using those as my pattern. And I've cut it right on the edge of the selvage because I really like that little fringe selvage there. So it's on the edge of my J. I'm cutting out the word joy. And on the Y, what I end up doing, yeah, so you have to keep pressing and pressing this stuff. I hated it. Yeah, it's other stuff I was used to. You know, you press it just once and it's stuck. This stuff takes a little bit more. And with the Y, the selvage piece, I actually sewed that just along the right side of the Y as well. I don't think I show you that. Oh, here's the bit where I, yeah, So put this on, think it's the right way. Yeah, it's all over. It's all over my ironing board. Oh, look, new product until I get used to it. Anyway, I got it in the end. You can, like I'm doing here, trace your letters onto the back of the paper on the sticky stuff. I don't know what to call it. What is it? It's gone out of my brain. Oh, anyway, you know what I'm talking about. It's double-sided. It sticks to the fabric on this side and sticks when you iron it down on the other side. So here I've just popped it in again just to remind you. Sew those 2 seams for the back envelope and then sew all the way around. It's exactly the same as the first cushion. That's why I just popped this same footage in there. Trim it all the way around, trim off the corners, turn it the right way around and pop our cushion in. So there's our Farmhouse Cushions, a Merry Christmas and our Joy. And you can see there the fringe, I sewed that onto the Y as well. So I hope you enjoyed that class on Farmhouse Cushions. Wishing you and yours a very Merry Christmas. I'll see you next time. Oh, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you. Bye now.
Side by side and through